going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of best bets and props. This time it's for UFC 278, Usman versus Edwards 2. And I've got 4 moneyline bets, 4 props, and 2 long shot props that I've sprinkled on as well. I'll get through all of my betting action and the odds that I got these moneylines and props at. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We are moving into our 12th consecutive week of UFC fights that we're covering together. So it's been a fun grind this summer. 1 week off of the UFC and then right back to the action to make this year a very, very successful one as it has been so far. So I appreciate all the support so far. Moving into the first fight of the night, I have action on Victor Altamirano at minus 155 in the money line. I'm paying the price on all of the favorites on this card to win 1 unit. So all the money lines and props, like minus 155 for Altamirano, I'm paying 1.55 units to win 1 in return over Daniel da Silva, who's a very dangerous Brazilian, very dangerous fast starter in round 1. But da Silva's never been past the over 1.5 round mark. That's a big detriment against him. His cardio, he looks to fall off if he can't get you out of there early with those stabbing front kicks that he throws to the body end up high, spinning wheel kicks. The guy's got a pretty nasty back take and ground game as well. But if Altamirano can stay safe in round 1, which I believe he can, he's got very good stand-up, very good output early and later in the fight. He kind of accelerates as the fight goes on, does Altamirano. I like that this price has dropped to minus 155, and I'm definitely taking him because I think he's the much better fighter, probably in all areas of this fight, especially as this fight gets out of round 1. So I like Altamirano here, good pace and pressure, and a very competent ability so far. Former LFA champion, where he went 5 rounds, so he's got proven cardio here, which will be very important. So first money line down, going on to Arichi Lang, which is still on the prelims here, to defeat Jay Perrin at bantamweight. Minus 160. This is a line where I got the worst end of the line movement here. I took it earlier, like on Sunday or Monday, at minus 160, 1.6 units to win 1. And I saw it at minus 135 last night on Bet Online. So if you could get that, I think that's a steal of a price and a guy who's very proven at the UFC level. A tough war in his debut against Jeff Molina, who's a very good competitor, and he went, triple-digit significant strikes against Jeff Molina. He's got very good leg kicks, very good striking at range, power up close, and unlike a lot of the Chinese prospects, Arichi Lang has some very good grappling as well, both defensively, and he's got some good, hip tosses as well. If he gets in close against the cage, he can drag you to the ground. And now he showed at bantamweight, he looks very good in his last fight. Debut at bantamweight against Cameron Else, was able to dispose of that guy with some nasty body strikes, and eventually finished him with ground and pound. So Jay Perrin, the guy, I've seen him, he looks very competent in all areas of mixed martial arts, boxing background. He's got okay scrambling ability on the ground, but the parts that I've seen him look good on the ground, usually capitalizing on the mistakes of some of the more amateurish type opponents I've seen, that lose position and allow him to scramble, back to his feet or into a dominant position. I've seen that on the regional scene. He doesn't look too different from the regional scene footage I've watched to, his one appearance in the Dana White Contender Series and, his bout, in the UFC against Mario Batista, who's a tough opponent. So Jay Perrin seems tough. I think Arichi Lang could get this done by decision. If there's one knock on Arichi Lang, his striking defense leaves a lot to be desired, but I think he's got way better pace and pressure and can, definitely outpoint Jay Perrin in pretty much every aspect of MMA in this fight. I'm very confident he gets this done. Moving on to another favorite at minus 155 in the money line. This is AJ Fletcher, a young prospect making a second walk to the cage. He's taking on Angelusa, who is also making a second walk to the octagon now. Minus 155 on AJ Fletcher. I paid the price in that money line to win 1 unit. I like AJ Fletcher in this fight. I think he's got all of the ability. He just had a very close fight, a very winnable fight against Matt Semmelsberger at the end of last year in his debut. Semmelsberger, a pretty good competitor, and if AJ Fletcher just didn't make a couple, submission over position mistakes on the ground in round 3, I think he would have walked away with that decision and his hand raised, and I think he walks away with his hand raised in a 3-round decision in this fight over Angelusa. Ange looks like he's got all of the potential. He trains at Killcliff FC, formerly known as Sanford MMA. Great training partners. Gilbert Burns in his corner. A very big guy for the division as well at 170. It's just, he just is so timid to throw and always finds himself on the defensive position here. He doesn't really let his hands go that often. He's good defensively and seems to be very tough, but even against like the the age, like near 40-year-old UFC veteran John Howard, outside of the UFC and ex-MMA. You saw that was a very good ability for like Angelusa to show. Like he can put away this old man, this old kind of washed up veteran, and he was unable to do so. He actually went to a very somewhat competitively close decision against John Howard, mostly relying on his grappling. Did Angelusa in that fight? I think that is off the table. AJ Fletcher has a very good ability to go for takedowns, blast double legs, and he's got very smothering top pressure and good ground and pound. So I like AJ Fletcher here. If he could just fix that and just go for position over submission in this fight, I think he walks away with his hand raised here over Angelusa. So AJ Fletcher there. The fourth money line I have is a underdog shot on Leonardo Santos at plus 260 odds. I put a half of a unit on this. I think this is a crazy mispriced line over Jared Gordon here. If this is a one-round fight, I think, Leonardo Santos would be, a minus 300 favorite. His striking is super powerful. He's knocked out Kevin Lee before. He's got a highlight reel walk-off KO over Stevie Ray. And he's just got some very dangerous kicks and punches in round one. His cardio did fall off after he almost got Clay Guida out of there, who's pretty durable. He's got, and Santos, I'm talking about his striking. He's actually a BJJ world champion. That's how he came into the UFC. And, he's got a lot of submissions on his record, a good back take. And even at 42 years old at lightweight, I'm sure if he leans on his grappling, that will tire him out much less than if he stays at striking range, which he's, made a lot of the noise in the UFC with his striking. But a lot of these older guys, these older BJJ champions, if they grapple, they get far less gassed out than if they strike. It's just the nature of the business. Usually whatever you're best at, you know how to do efficiently. But I think you can, out-grapple Jared Gordon, who gives up his back often. Just got choked out by Grant Dawson. Santos, I think he's getting crapped on a little bit for his cardio at 42 years old. But, who wouldn't get tired throwing that many strikes against Clay Guida in round one? He definitely thought he was going in for the kill in that fight, and he had to, leave his stool to enter round two when he didn't expect to. So if he could just not unload his gas tank against Jared Gordon, he could probably win round one, probably win most of round two. And, if there's a drop-off in round three, if he can survive to the final bell, I think he wins a decision. But in most worlds, I think Santos gets Jared Gordon out of there early. But that leads me to my next point. If, he does have that drop-off after round one. He does look like a regressing 42-year-old. I took the fight doesn't go to decision for Santos and Gordon as well at plus money, plus 120 for this not to go to the final scorecard. So I think Santos gets Gordon out of there in round one, which would cash both the money line and this prop. But if he does fall off and we see a bigger regression with his age here, I think Gordon, who's not a big, dangerous, potent finisher, would have enough, accumulation of strikes to get Santos out of there the way that Clay Guida was able to. So I put 1 unit on that to win 1.2. Santos, out of his 10 UFC appearances so far, he's finished 6 of them. They've finished inside the distance. Gordon has been finished in all 5 of his losses as well, which aids credence to my point, that I think Santos gets the job done here. But if not, it shouldn't take much to get a gas Santos out of there very late in this fight, the way that Grant Dawson was able to at the end of the third round. So moving on to a more obvious prop here. Probably in most people's eyes, it almost seems too easy. Paulo Costa to win by knockout at minus 150. Put 1.5 units on that to defeat Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold has been finished in all 5 of his losses by knockout. It's just part of that, the narrative of this fight, and it just seems a little bit too easy, right? 11 knockouts out of 13 wins for Paulo Costa. A willingness to trade up close does Paulo Costa. He's got very good combinations. That nice left hook that usually is the bane of the existence for Luke Rockhold's chin. And Luke Rockhold is coming off of over a 3-year-long layoff. And before he even took that hiatus, he had been knocked out twice. Knocked out, 2 out of his last 3 losses. He's been knocked out by Jan, Bisping, and Romero. So that's 3 of his last 4 losses, So, again, Luke Rockhold, you never know what you're going to get when you get somebody that comes back after 3 years off. Who knows what they're going to look like. But Luke Rockhold's game plan is usually to get in close, get in clinch range, and take this to the fence where he looks for takedowns. And I think that's going to be where Paulo Costa wants to fight. He loves getting into these brawls up close where he has his opponent cornered against the cage. So give me Costa by knockout. It's worth it for me to chop down his minus 300 and more money line to his most likely win condition, right? So This next one, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for. I don't know why. You know, I don't know why more people aren't on this side, to be honest with you. Merab Dvalishvili to win by decision at plus 150 odds over Jose Aldo. I am the biggest Jose Aldo fanboy in the world. I have all the respect for this guy, and I don't hate anybody taking the money line stab at plus money. Aldo at underdog price is a great bet. But Jose Aldo is tough. He's only been finished by like Conor McGregor, Peter Yan, and Max Holloway. I don't think Merab Dvalishvili, who has most of his wins by decision, is going to finish Jose Aldo. But I do think that this being a sport versus a fight type of situation, I think he wins the decision. So what I mean by that is he's got a very good point scoring style, does Merab. You know, he's constant forward pressure, always looking for the takedowns. He's landed over 60 recorded takedowns in 9 fights. I mean, it's just, he's always going for it. He's got a relentless pace and cardio. Jose Aldo, very good takedown defense, but what happens to his already low striking output for Aldo when he's forced to defend takedowns against the cage, always trying to circle away from the pressure against the cage, not get taken down by the chain wrestler of Merab? I just really think that Jose Aldo's best bet here is to change the course of the fight with very strong, like getting the knockdowns like he did against Rob Font. If he can get the better of the striking exchanges, and have that one punch power or that one kick power that changes the course of a round, maybe that's how he wins the decision here, or gets the knockout on Merab. I think that's less likely. I think more likely is that, it would be Merab winning the round until the one strike catches him that he loses the round with. That would be the path for Jose Aldo for me in this fight, but I'm taking Merab to pressure forward and to stifle that output of Jose Aldo, which honestly is always a little bit low volume in general. So it's going to be an activity thing for me. Again, this is a point scoring type of fight for Merab more than just like a straight up kickboxing match that Jose Aldo would clearly win if that was all that this was. So plus 150, the decision prop on there. I like that more than the Merab money line. You're getting plus money, and it's the most likely path for Merab there. So, again, I'm betting on Merab Dvalishvili. I'm picking him to win, and he's the favorite in this fight. I feel like me picking him is like a big underdog here, but Jose Aldo, he's got, just the legacy of being the best featherweight of all time. So, honestly, as a fan, I hope he wins, but that's the prop I'm taking is Merab Dvalishvili by decision. Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. Fight goes over 4.5 rounds at minus 155 odds. I like that a lot. Usman has never been finished in the UFC. 10 of his 15 UFC appearances have gone to decision. So until just recently, he's not really that big of a finisher. Leon Edwards, never been finished before. So we're talking about 14 UFC fights. 3 of those have actually been finishes, right? And none of those 3 guys that Leon Edwards has finished are even on the roster anymore. So I don't think he finishes Kamaru Usman. If Leon Edwards does shock the world and get the belt on Saturday, I think he does it by a point-scoring decision at kickboxing range. And Usman would have to have really regressed and had a really bad night for that to happen. I think Usman wins this fight quite easily, but I think it goes over 4.5. It goes to decision. I think Edwards is one of these guys who's been very tentative to throw, very tentative to put himself in bad positions. A lot of the times that he gets in close, he is engaging in the grappling. I don't think that's going to be on the table for him against Kamaru Usman. He'd have to stay at kickboxing range where he is very good defensively. So I think Usman lands more. I think he gets the better of the clinch exchanges especially and gets one of those classic Usman grinding control time victories here. So over 4.5, I think that's likely for both of these guys to go to decision. And to pay minus 155 on that, not a bad bet in my opinion. I think this is a very one-sided finishing potential on the side of Kamaru Usman. So a couple of the long shot props here, finally the fun ones. I've got Sean Woodson knockout in round 3 at plus 900, quarter unit sprinkle on that. He's facing Luis Saldana, who is known to really slow down as the fight gets to the later portions of it. So that round 3, he looks very inactive. And if you're betting on Luis Saldana, you're just hoping that he can survive and not get knocked out in round 3. You're hoping that he does just enough to win that round. That's how I was feeling when he fought Bruno Souza last time out. So he's looked pretty bad later in the fight. The big narrative this week is the Salt Lake City high altitude. This probably is not going to help him out in the later part of a fight. So Sean Woodson, one of the biggest featherweights you could possibly find, 6'2", with a huge reach advantage here. And, he's not the most powerful puncher, but the accumulation of strikes as this fight goes on against the gassed Luis Saldana in round 3, I think that round 3 knockout is a very good price at plus 900. That's a good possibility that happens, right? So the next one I have is another round 3 knockout prop, and this is Marcin Tybura over Alexander Romanov. I do think Romanov wins in most circumstances. He's now this trim, closer to a light heavyweight looking physique, like weighing in around the 230-pound mark versus the 250 mark that he was before. And, Tybura, he's been pretty good with his cardio. He looks decent in fights, even when he's attempting a lot of grappling. Like, he attempted over 10 takedowns against Alexander Volkov in his last fight last year, and still looked very good cardio-wise in round 3. He lost that fight ultimately, but he was still going for takedowns in round 3, still engaging in some attempted strikes in round 3 against Volkov. I think he does the same thing, and if we see that Juan Espino version of Romanov's cardio, a guy who hasn't been to the later parts of a fight very often, Romanov is used to steamrolling over his opponents early in fights, and if that doesn't happen against Marcin Tybura, round 3 is going to be very difficult for Alexander Romanov. Tybura is very good at, getting the takedowns. Again, early in the fight, I don't see him having much success against Romanov, but if Romanov gets dog-tired like he was against Juan Espino in round 3, we could possibly see Tybura take over, have his way with Romanov, get in top position, and maybe get a ground and pound stopping sequence here. So round 3 knockout for Tybura is plus 3,500. I got this bet for my guy Lou Betya from the MMA Engine. He gave out on his video, in the props video, he gave out round 3 Tybura at plus 2,500. That would cover in case he gets some crazy submission in round 3 as well. Your bases will be covered for all that. My books had that at like plus 1,800, so I got greedy and I gave it to the the KO prop, which I would see usually when Tybura even has a back mount and he flattens his opponents out, he's going for the ground and pound, not the submission. So plus 3,500, quarter unit me all day on that one. So again, in most worlds, I think Romanov actually finishes this fight inside the distance, probably within the first 2 rounds. But round 3, that could be dicey if you're holding that Romanov parlayed, money line at what is he now? Like a minus 400, minus 500 favorite, something insane. I like Tybura to change the tides of this fight in round 3 at plus 3,500 by knockout. So those are all the props, you guys. Nothing too crazy this week. I'm just hoping most of the money lines come through and maybe a couple of the props as well. And that will be profitable for our 12th, consecutive UFC fight. This week we have, a 3-fight winning streak going on in the UFC right now. I want to make this the 4th winning night in a row. And maybe next week I'll venture into LFA. There is a flyweight championship on the line next week on Friday. Maybe I'll talk about that. I think it's like a 6-fight card on that one. 6-fight main card and 2 prelims so far for the LFA. Maybe I'll cover that. Maybe I'll cover some other topics in mixed martial arts that are relevant. Let me know what you want me to talk about. And you guys, since we started this 12-fight streak in the UFC, my channel has more than tripled in size. This is like the 29th UFC fight that I've covered on my channel this year so far. So I appreciate all the love and support. You guys are the absolute best subscribers, and I love all the active comments, talking to you guys on Twitter. It's just been an absolute blast. So thank you for that. The channel will keep growing. I'm more motivated now than ever to keep making content for this channel. Check out my live stream I did last night with my guy Tom from the Pickin' Winners YouTube channel. We went over our top 3 favorite props on this card. He gave out his top 3 at the end of the video. Check that out. I've added timestamps for your convenience. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will talk to you guys on Sunday for the recap. Good luck in all your betting action and enjoy the fights. Cheers.